Our latest expedition returned with bittersweet news. Their victory had been absolute, but their losses heavy. They had completed their assigned task easily enough, but that vile fanatic had been lying in wait, ambushing them as they had departed the Weald. The Commissar's report described that fateful battle in excruciating detail. The party thrown into chaos by the sudden attack, Gwydden impaled and bleeding like a sieve, sober, set ablaze but still fighting to the end. Ultimately, Wojtek had finally separated that murderous monster from his head, but the damage had already been done, and in the wake of that bloody battle, Sober had quietly passed away. Her funeral was a small and solemn event, a moment of quiet in an otherwise hectic week. One of our first recruits, she had long been a staunch ally and loyal friend, a regular fixture both out in the field and in the training halls at the guild. She would be missed. Still, even in death, she had more than proven her worth. Thanks in part to her sacrifice, our party had prevailed, not only in their assigned task, but also in recovering a mysterious new boon. That vile fanatic, lunatic that he was, had actually found it, a cure to the disease that had so long plagued us, but in his madness, he had hidden it away. Of course, even with the cure in hand, our problems were far from over. With the fanatic dead, we had no idea how to recreate that precious elixir, and it would take time to properly study it. Thankfully, our recent victories had attracted a bevy of new apothecaries and healers to the hamlet, so we wasted no time in seeking their expert counsel. They eagerly took to the challenge, flocking in droves to badger our researchers and poke and prod at the infected. Before long, theories and opinions were flowing like cheap wine, and tempers flared as every suggestion was hotly debated. In the end, they accomplished little. The nature of the disease and its cure still eluded us. However, every theory, every recommendation, was accompanied by contacts with obscure new merchants who dealt in exotic new goods. That would certainly help us in the long run, but for now, we would still need a copious supply of the blood. Already, our stocks were dwindling, our stores nearly depleted. It was time to once again venture into the fetid swamps of the Crimson Court, but now at least we could do so without having to fear the fanatic. I called upon Mikad and Henry, both newer recruits, but ones who were uniquely suited for the exsanguination of their victims. They would be accompanied by young Dakram, who was suddenly gripped with a newfound enthusiasm for fieldwork in the wake of the fanatic's demise. It was curious timing that, but something that I chose not to question. Really, it was remarkable just how much had changed in the span of a single week. An ally lost, a foe vanquished, and new hope shining in the midst of an ocean of darkness. It would never last, of course. It never did. But for now, at least, we would certainly savor it. Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to Darkest Dungeon. Bit of a short one today, but trust me, it's all leading somewhere. That said, today we're focused on two goals, the first of which is we need more blood. The sad truth of the matter is that, given our current state of affairs, we're going to have to work to maintain an adequate supply to sustain our recruits. Which is why we brought Kyron and Mikad along. We can't keep putting the Baron off forever. It's about time we started making preparations for that inevitable encounter. Anyway, let's meet our heroes. Kyron. Crazy Henry. Mikad the Unlucky. Dakram. Alright, let's get moving. Well, that was quick. One torch gone, but plenty of supplies left. Forgotten delicacies. I think that calls for... yes, cleansing herbs. It's funny, even after a fair amount of practice, I'm still uncertain about a lot of what the Crimson Court has to offer. Oh, there's our first blood cache. Good thing, too, we didn't bring any along. Oh, there's our second one, too. And our third. This might be a very short mission. Well, we'll probably stick around for treasure.
Glittering gold, trinkets and baubles. Paid for in blood.
Oh, I really shouldn't waste our blood, but sometimes curiosity gets the better of me. Let's see what this one has to offer. Ah, nothing of note. Well, you roll the dice, you take your chances. I'll live with the result. Okay, here's fight number 1. Alright, they're starting us off easy.
Death by inches.
Ah, so close.
As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms. Soothed, sedated.
Alright, I really shouldn't milk this any longer.
Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles.
Nicely done. Hopefully they won't all be that easy. I would like to keep this interesting. I'll admit, I was really hoping we'd find more blood than that. Let's stick around. We'll see if we can find some.
Hacks laden with loot are often low on supplies.
Ah, let's give this a look. A trampled journal. 4 of 4. I am become vengeance. All cultists will feel my mace. Brigands fear my roar. I am outnumbered, 'tis true. I am starved and half mad, but as long as there is breath in my body, I will press on. I will wreak unbearable agony on those who would seek to despoil my great manse. And now they come. I douse my torch. I do not fear the darkness. This is my house, and woe to the uninvited. quite an end to a sordid tale. I think we missed one part. I've actually got it back in the Hamlet. Maybe I'll read it in one of the future episodes. That's what I'm worried about. We want to stick around long enough to find some extra loot, but, oh. Alright, this shouldn't be too hard.
A time to perform beyond one's limits. Slowly, gently. This is how a life is taken. Great is the weapon that cuts on its own.
Well, if you're so eager, you first.
Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all. Press this advantage. Give them no quarter.
Lovely. A little more loot, but now we'll have to start making some room. We're actually not far from some pretty major upgrades, so we definitely don't want to leave any heirlooms behind. Okay, moving on. Ah, a disturbing diversion. Smash it to pieces.
If only treasure could staunch the flow of otherworldly corruption.
Well, that's even more treasure we can't afford to leave behind. You know what? Let's get rid of this disease charm. We're never going to use it anyway. Well, good thing we have bandages. Obviously, the safer approach is to use holy water, but we've already dumped all of ours. Well now, this is barely a speed bump.
located. The slow death, unforeseen, unforgiving.
Can't afford to get rid of any shovels or keys just yet. But we can dump one of those stacks of food. Goodness. Let's not risk it this time. Oh, and we are out of torches, so I guess we're done. That was certainly shorter than I had anticipated, but that's fine. Not bad. Not bad at all. Ah, and 3 level ups too. All things considered, this actually turned out to be a pretty solid run. Anyway, I'm actually almost out of time, so we're wrapping up a little early today, but I'll toss in an extra story segment, and I'll see if I can get the next episode out a little faster than usual. See you then. Our raid on the Crimson Court had proven quite profitable indeed. Emboldened by our recent victories, our recruits had slaughtered those foul parasites in droves, before dutifully stripping them of their essence. They returned to the hamlet soon afterwards, their packs laden with blood and gold. There was some revelry surrounding the news of their accomplishments, but spirits were still dampened by the memory of those we had so recently lost. Spirits were dampened further still as night fell, and the shadows stretched and grasped unnaturally at passers-by. Despite the darkness, the stars shone with an unnatural brilliance, like glittering eyes watching from above. Then, with an abrupt suddenness, one of those stars suddenly winked and fell, drawing a cascading trail across the darkened sky. It vanished beyond the eastern horizon with little fanfare, but soon, a sickly, pulsing light began to radiate from somewhere beneath the mansion. The color was unnatural and yet somehow familiar, something that seared into the eyes yet defied description, that hummed in the teeth and made one's hairs stand on end. "The thing has returned," Cavendish croaked, his eyes alight with childlike glee. "The thing from the stars, or perhaps something new. Either way, I look forward to making its acquaintance." He was soon joined by others, far less enthused to meet whatever awaited them within the cove. Still, Dame Adriana had already taken up her sword, and others were quick to follow her example. I had not arranged a new expedition, not so soon after our last, but it was clear that a new task awaited us, whether we were prepared for it or not. A nod of my head, and our recruits were on their way, the wagon loaded, the empty seats already filled. The grim knight, the gleeful doctor, the nightmarish warden and his loyal hound, and Carol, the tortured vestal with her sorrowful, crimson eyes. She tossed me a curious look as the wagon departed, her expression unreadable as she vanished into the darkness. It was only later, as we sat silent, awaiting their return, that word of the missing cure finally reached my ears.